Listen Up is back exploring the world's progress on the Millennium Development Goals. They are 8 time-bound goals designed to get the world on track for becoming a better place for all its citizens. Let's look at goal number 5.
In Canada, we lose 10 mothers a year, but in a country like Uganda, where I work, has the same population as Canada. Every year, 6,000 mothers die from pregnancy-related complications. The reasons why mothers come so late to the hospital are not medical. They're not because of the doctors and nurses. They're things out in the community. And until we embrace the community and help people in the community to advocate for safe motherhood, to make sure the women get to the hospital early enough, to make sure those things are in place, then we're going to continue to lose so many mothers. I've really been challenged by the words of the King Solomon in the book of Proverbs when he said, "Speak for those who have no voice, for the rights of all who are destitute." And I just can't think of anybody more destitute in the world than women who die quietly in their huts in Africa, in India, and no one even pays attention to them. And I say to myself, I have a voice. God has given me a voice to be an advocate for those women. And so that's really what motivates me, and I know that all of us have a voice, and I just encourage others to think about that too, in whatever way they can be a voice as well too for women around the world, and to be faithful to that.
The 6th goal addresses deadly diseases like HIV, AIDS, and malaria. The goal is to have stopped and, in fact, begun to reverse the spread of HIV, AIDS by 2015. And William, why is that important?
Well, some of the countries in Africa, sometimes it's up to 30–40% of the children positive in the HIV situation. That means almost they can wipe up the whole country.
All right, I want to ask why it matters to you, and I want to ask it in the context of the One Heartbeat painting that became the award, the art that symbolizes this.
This is a very simple act that I want that we put our love into action so that the whole world will have more hope and we have more love for our own children in the future.
And now Millennium Development Goal number 7.
It's a critical MDG. Environment and climate change issues are poverty issues. Climate change is happening in our world today, and it's hitting the poorest hardest. This is one of the biggest problems on our planet today, and what we need really is political will. So what we need is world leaders to come together to agree to serious and significant cuts in carbon emissions so that we can stop the gradual increase in temperature on our planet, which is having these environmental impacts. For me, if you're a Christian, I think you have to engage with these issues. We love the poor. We seek to God's heart is for the poor, and we must address issues of injustice and suffering. If I, as a Christian leader in the West, if my lifestyle, my overconsumption, the amount of carbon emissions that I'm producing in a daily week are having an impact on my global neighbour, on the poorest people in the world who are very dear to God's heart, then I have a responsibility to change my lifestyle and to hold my government to account to make change both in emissions and in supporting poor communities to adapt so that I can be love and express my love to those communities.
Poverty has become very firmly fixed on the political agenda for well over 20 years, as we all know, since the 80s. When one looks at the scale of improvements across the world, I think there's a lot of dismay. There's a lot of progress, but there's also a lot of dismay. I think the main issues, still have to do something with the political will. I think we've seen in recent times with the current financial crunch that if the political will is there, finance can be released. And there still seems to be something of a gap in the mindset of our governments particularly, between recognizing that the promises of the MDGs make absolute political sense, they make economic sense, that they are actually attainable within our domestic growth patterns. one of the great secrets, the untold secrets of civil society is the presence, the pervasive presence of the church. Churches are everywhere. I remember being in Peru with a Christian NGO about 18 months ago. We were passing this field, and in the middle of this field was a shack. And somebody said, that is a church. Churches are just about everywhere. And we know that the vast majority of people in the world now live in urban settings. Churches are there. Churches are with the rich, they are with the poor. They're in the global south, they're in the global north. And therefore the church is like a kind of a societal membrane spread across the world. And this kind of infrastructure, governments have seen, the UN has recognized this, is probably the best agency, or one of the best agencies for delivery of services, but also for mobilizing people to create the political will.
When Listen Up returns, I'll share my personal thoughts on striving to make a better world in the wrap. Listen Up is all about news that takes you deeper, and we're always on the lookout for spiritual realities behind the headlines. But we also want to be able to answer questions you have about faith. Visit us at listenuptv.com and go deeper with our Answers to Faith section. We live in a world where the media have a deeply held belief that the right to food is not a story worth covering. Even here at this nice Christian TV show, we squirm at planning to do another show on hungry people. But 50,000 children under the age of 5 will die today, and each day, from poverty-related diseases. The Millennium Development Goals we reviewed on today's show are about healing that systemic evil. The MDGs are a concrete way to keep us all talking about reducing poverty in all its forms. One of Christianity's ancient prophets, Micah, said we have a few must-do things in all of our lives: to walk humbly with God, to seek His heart for people in poverty, to do justice and love kindness in government, community, and our personal lives. Talking about the MDGs is a first step. Check out resources on how you can get involved and understand the Millennium Development Goals at listenuptv.com. For all of us at Listen Up, I'm Lorna Dueck. Thanks for watching. Following our recent program on Bible reading, Jennifer wrote, "I gave up reading the Bible 20 years ago because after being thoroughly indoctrinated, I found so much of it irrelevant to life today. Your show has sparked a new interest for me." Write to us at listenuptv.com and find out how to order your copy of The Message.